Quick reminder that the description has a link to a resource website that you can use to help contribute to ongoing Black Lives Matter organizations. You can do a myriad of things like donate to bail funds or sign petitions, all of which go a long way to fighting systemic racism. Thank you very much for your time. Hello everyone, GoldenNova here, and oh boy did we get a humongous release dropped on us! We've covered Drytron, and now it's time to talk about the next new theme to be released in Genesis Impactors, a spellcaster theme that looks to make equip cards out of your extra deck monsters, Magistus. Magistus? Magistus? Comment down below how you think it's pronounced. They're probably going to change it for localization anyway. But if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while, you might see some of these names and artworks and think, wait a second, new archetype? I've seen all these monsters before. Right? And the answer is, yeah, kinda. Magistus seem to be set in the past of what I'm tentatively calling the Magical Nations setting. Having been fleshed out in a few Master Guide releases over the years, our current understanding of the story is that Endymion, who named their magical city after themselves because apparently they're the mighty master of magic and wielder of a Seto Kaiba-sized ego, keeps the usage of magic in his realm under strict control. In stark contrast to that, the Prophecy spellcasters, who represent the spellbook research institute named La Maison, run by their own set of rules, and having gained a massive amount of influence over the realm, Endymion is not a fan. The Master of Magic has made one confirmed attack against La Maison, and considering their pendulum evolution, they may be gearing up to do so once again. We also learned in a more recent entry that Aleister, having forgotten to update their magic programming code, caused a buffer overflow when trying to run Kaliga.exe, fusing him with one of the many entities they had called with the forbidden magic of invocation. So, having been turned into a half-fiend, half-human, the researchers at La Maison did the only sensible thing. Plug Aleister into the generator room of the Grand Spellbook Tower and see what happens. It's okay, they end up T-posing to assert dominance later, so they're okay. Kinda. Also, witchcrafters are just hanging around in the city somewhere, making magic art and just generally vibing. Well, except for Verre, who between nap sessions conspires to blaspheme in God's domain by crafting life by their own hands. But we get some pretty sweet spellcaster support out of it, so it all balances out. But it seems that the major players of all three of these factions were, at some point, allied together in their common goal to do, well, something. One of the big flavor draws of the theme right now is the mystery. What are Endymion, Aleister, and Verre hoping to accomplish with this? What's going to be the outcome of it? And what caused these three to separate and form their own factions? Those are not answers we'll be finding out today, but trust me, this is definitely getting its own lore entry in the future. For now, let's review our current research material, divine what outcomes we can obtain with them, and see if any supplemental material can assist. It's time to work some magic with Magistus. But before we continue, well, normally I'd do my call to action to grow my social capital, but my producer/manager Delilah is planning something, and she wants your help. If you're a fan of my work and want to contribute to whatever unholy machinations she has planned, there will be a pinned comment with a link to more instructions. Good luck, and may God have mercy on your soul. Thank you for your patience, and now, back to the video. Let's start by going over the main deck monsters. Magistus Grimoire Crowley is a level 4 dark spellcaster with 1800 attack and 1000 defense, which is a neat inverse of their older form. You can send any spellcaster monster from your hand or face up on the field to the grave to special summon them from your hand. Once per turn, you can declare an attribute, and Crowley here becomes that attribute until the end of the turn. Lastly, you can banish them from your grave to attach a Magistus in your grave to a Magistus you control, but the monster in your grave can't be level 4. This is basically just to keep you from attaching the main deck monsters as equips, and that's just as well since none of them actually give you any bonuses while being equipped. In theme, Crowley can be used to get more Magistus onto the board for various plays, but its attribute effect doesn't have any real bearing on your play sequences. Rather, it makes for really good Invoked support if nothing else. Normal summon Aleister to get Invocation, send them to the grave to summon their younger self from the hand, modulate their attribute to whatever you need, and bam! You've got access to your entire Invoked library off of one monster. Sorry, Homunculus the Alchemical Being, it appears you've been power crept. Next is Magistus Verre Senderillan, a level 4 light spellcaster with 800 attack and 1800 defense. When normal or special summoned, you can do one of two things. Either you add a Magistus spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or return a banished level 4 or lower spellcaster to your grave. They also share an effect with Crowley, being able to banish themselves from the grave to attach a non-level 4 Magistus in your grave to a Magistus you control. From what I can tell, having consistent access to your themed spells is going to be integral to getting your combos flying, so having a searcher for them is a step in the right direction. I also like how they can reset your banished Crowleys and Verres, but it's also very helpful in Witchcrafter, as all their level 4 and lower monsters banish themselves from the grave for a myriad of important effects. So this Verre is a well-rounded utility monster for the theme, but for a prequel setting, they look a mite bit older than their gremlin-esque modern day form. Now, this could either be a reference to the fact that Verre is French for glass, or... well, don't try watching this video at the stroke of midnight, that's all I'm saying. The last main deck monster is Magistus Master Endymion, a level 4 water Wait a sec, water? Endymion's always been dark up till now. What, did they not want to overlap with Crowley? Anyway. Endymion is a level 4 water spellcaster with 1300 attack and 1700 defense. Once per turn, you can target a Magistus monster you control, then equip it with a Magistus monster from your extra deck, making it arguably the quickest way to get to your game plan. Also, you can target a face-up spell you control, destroy it, and if you do, draw a card, then tuck a card from your hand under your deck. What this Endymion can do for you will be made more clear once we go over our extra deck monsters, but I'm more curious about its second effect. So far, all of the Magistus have had some kind of effect that's beneficial to the archetype they represent, but as far as spell counters go, blowing up your own cards doesn't seem very useful. But do you notice something weird? No, not the water thing. Trust me, I'm not getting any sleep over this either. No, what's really weird is that their signature spell counters, the Pitch Black Power Stones, nowhere to be seen. We're in a pre-spell counter time. So in lieu of that, I posit that Endymion is currently working at an early version of the Mythical Institution. So while this means the mythical beasts haven't been made yet, since the key ingredient for their creation is the spell counter Power Stones, that doesn't mean that an ambitious young researcher couldn't be looking for a way to make that happen. We also know that they embrace the power of Pendulum for themselves later on, and since Pendulum spells seem to have an affinity for blowing themselves up, well, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but hey, what are you gonna do about it? Now, normally I'd go into these spells and traps before talking about the extra deck, but since they're all honorary equipped spells anyway, I'll be going back and forth as needed. First we have Magistus Saint Iwas, a level 8 Wind Fiend fusion monster with 2000 attack and 2800 defense, requiring 1 Magistus and 1 spellcaster type monster as fusion material. A monster equipped with Iwas gains 1000 attack and defense, and during any main phase as a quick effect, you can target any other monster on the field and equip them with Iwas. If it's equipped to an opponent's monster, you gain control of it, though it does keep you from activating any of its effects. Now this card makes for a nice Axe of Despair, but it is absolutely too good not to be summoned properly. A quick effect Snatch Steal with, well, I wouldn't say upside, but certainly a nice trade-off is ridiculous. However, I was under the impression that stealing was a sin. How is this thing a saint again? But how do we summon this most magnificent of manifestations? Well, that's the job of Magistus Invocation. That's right, the apparent origins of the forbidden art of calling spirits and gods from other realms, and it's all being handed to our aspiring little magician by Iwas themselves. You can use Magistus Invocation to fusion summon for any fusion monster, so long as at least one material is a spellcaster. If you're looking to make a Magistus fusion monster, however, you can also use any monster card equipped to a Magistus monster you control. So not only do our equips give us cool bonus effects, you can also use them to help deploy our Saint Fiend thing on the cheap. It's also not a great sign that Crowley just takes the book and rolls with it. They're like, now that I have this tome of ancient magic given to me by an extraplanar fiend, I should really do some research to make sure it's safe. Right after I get Endymion and Verre to test it out with me. Next is Magistus Maiden Artemis, a Link 1 light spellcaster with 800 attack, requiring a level 4 or lower spellcaster as link material. You can only special summon one of them per turn, and if another Magistus monster is normal or special summoned to your field, you can have Artemis target them, then equip to that target on resolution. While equipped to a monster, once per turn, you can add a Magistus monster from your deck to your hand. Artemis joins Iwas in being the only 2 Magistus extra deck monsters that can equip themselves without any outside help, but whereas Iwas is meant to malevolently take from your opponent, Artemis will equip to your own monsters to help enhance your strategy, and having a monster searcher to pair with Verre's spell and trap searching is awesome. Also, I'm super positive that this is a younger Selene, Queen of the Master Magician, and since all of the extra deck Magistuses are supposed to be beings from an outer realm, does that mean that Endymion married a god from another dimension? Oh snap, I think I just thought of the title for my next light novel. To help with summoning out the requisite materials to make the most out of your link, we've got the continuous spell Tris Magistus. While it's active, the first time each turn any of your Magistus monsters with an equipped card attached would be destroyed by battle, it is not. Once per turn, you can do one of two things. Either you can special summon a level 4 spellcaster from your hand, or you can send Tris Magistus to the grave to special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand. So we have an enabling tool that can help get our field filled out in the theme proper, but it also opens up the door to splash other level 4 spellcasters during deck building. And you know what that means? Pendulum Magicians! Yay! Our next extra deck monster is Magistus Goddess Ninaruru, a rank 4 Earth Rock Xyz monster with 1800 attack and 2400 defense, requiring 2 level 4 spellcasters as Xyz material. A monster equipped with Ninaruru can make 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. Also, while equipped to a monster, you can have them target a Magistus card in your spell and trap zone, and one spell and trap your opponent controls, and destroy them. Also, as an actual monster effect, Ninaruru can detach a material to add any level 4 or higher spellcaster from your grave to your hand. Their double attack effect is nice if you can attach them to a Crowley that's being pumped up by everyone's favorite bad influence, but its real value comes from its ability to scrap dragon one of your opponent's back row. It's exceedingly important that you be able to resolve your monster effects, so having a way to remove or bait back row will keep you from being pinned by decks that use traps as a way to keep control of the duel. However, it is a rock type, so give it a few weeks and I'm sure we'll be seeing the model of Witchcrafter Golem Maruru in some kind of Magistus Adamantia build. A card that can help with getting the material on board to summon Ninaruru is Vritra Magistus. You can activate this normal spell to special summon a level 4 or lower Magistus monster from your grave. Also, while it's in the grave, if one or more Magistus cards in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can banish Vritra from your grave instead. This is just a solid utility card. It's not going to advance your game plan, but it can help you get back into games you might have lost, as you can access an Endymion that's stuck in your grave, or trigger Verre for another spell search. Heck, you can even grab another copy of Vritra to set up for later turns. It also acts as a preventative measure against cards like Lightning Storm and Ghost Ogre. But what's most interesting here is the art. So far, we've been seeing familiar faces juxtaposed with an extra deck monster that connects with their story, but this big old dragon? This red-haired individual? Complete mystery. Looking at the set list, we're due for at least one more member of the main deck Magistus, so here's hoping that will provide some answers. But for now, we'll just have to make do with this absolutely flagrant disregard for fire safety. Seriously, how much do you want to bet that the Magistus facility doesn't have a single extinguisher that's up to code? Speaking of the sizzling serpent, our last extra deck monster is Magistus Dragon Vafram, a level 8 fire dragon synchro monster requiring generic materials. It's odd that the deck with no tuners in it has a synchro monster, but like I said, there's one more member on the way, and if they're not a tuner, then that's just going to be weird. A monster equipped with Vafram cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell and trap effects, which is, I gotta say, pretty lackluster. Like, I mentioned how Vritra can help keep your back row safe from Lightning Storm, and this kind of helps in the same way, but other than that very specific circumstance, I'm not sure when that protection is going to come up. Dogmatica Punishment, maybe? I don't know. What I do know is that Vafram's other effects are wild. At the start of the damage step, if they're equipped to a monster and they battle another monster, you can just blow up your opponents. It's not like Construct where the opponent's monster has to be special summoned, and you can also choose not to trigger the destruction effect if that would be more beneficial. You even get to blow up face down monsters before they flip face up, in case that's ever relevant. The only downside it has compared to Construct is that the effect is only once per turn, so even if your monster is also equipped with Ninaruru, you only get the destruction once, but that's hardly a point against it. Vafram is also another really good monster to summon out in their own right, because if they're destroyed after having been synchro summoned, you can blow up every face-up card your opponent controls. And it doesn't care how it's destroyed, so if you have any way to trigger it yourself, then you have a way to get rid of a number of problem cards in one go, or at the very least bait some interaction. It prepares my opponents just the way I like them. Extra toasty. The last piece of support we have is going to help us access our key cards when we don't have Endymion. Theologia Magistus is a quick play spell that lets us target one Magistus monster we control, then equip a different non-level 4 Magistus from our extra deck, field, or grave to it. However, if you currently have at least one each of a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link Magistus in your grave, you can equip a non-Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster from your extra deck to that Magistus monster instead. The first part is very good, letting you access a variety of effects at quick effect speed so you can pivot into a few different plays. The second effect, I don't know. There's not a single extra deck monster I can think of that gives you benefits while being equipped. I suppose it could help make VWXYZ Dragon Catapult canon, but aside from that, it really just feels like another way to dump extra deck monsters to the grave with extra steps, and we already have Dogmatica for that. However, anything that can pull cards out of the extra is worth keeping in mind, because you never know what silly things you can get away with when your card effects start messing with the established flow of the game. Also, I'm very upset with how much this looks like Witchcrafter Masterpiece. Verre is even in the same position. See, I'm starting to think this whole Witchcrafters are playing God thing isn't an exaggeration. So now that we've gone over the archetype, what is it that we're looking to accomplish? Well, honestly, I'm not sure. Iwas is the only monster with anything resembling a power play, and everything else just feels like generic spellcaster good stuff. But the various level restrictions keep it from being splashed into a lot of those archetypes. So for now, I feel like our win condition is to trade advantageously with our opponent by utilizing our toolbox, then hope that whatever engine you run alongside them can help bridge the gap between you and victory. Let's take a look at some cards that we can include to help make that happen. Dogmatica is basically a shoo-in for the deck. I mean, a lot of them are already level 4 spellcasters. Punishment and Nadir Servant can send your Magistus extra deck monsters to the grave while you go looking for your Dogmatica pieces, as well as providing much needed interaction. Bonus points if you end up using Ninururu to return a used Fleur-de-Lis back to your hand for even more negates. Seriously, is Dogmatica going to be like the next Sky Striker that we splash into everything? Performages make for a pretty good material engine. Triss can summon any of them out of your hand for free, Verre can put banished damage jugglers back into your grave, and Hat Tricker can help you make Ninururu, whose effect you can activate to put Hat Tricker back into your hand, which you can then summon again. Those are some pretty serious party tricks. Another cool card that you can recycle is Witch of the Black Forest. Also special summonable by Triss and fetchable by Ninururu, this powerful search card is the perfect link material for Artemis. While you won't be grabbing any of the Ghost Girl hand traps with their effect, you can get Droll and Lockbird, DD Crow, and perhaps most infamous of all, Nibiru. Wipe the field, give your opponent a giant token, and then watch their face dissolve in horror as you take it with Iwas. You know what? Never mind, I think I just found out what the deck's win condition is. I see Cross Sheep as being very useful for this deck. You might even get to use its Synchro and Xyz effects if you're lucky. I mean, summoning Iwas to Link Point, then getting back Water Endymion is a pretty sweet play, and Cross Sheep doesn't have to be the end of that combo. Combine them with just one spellcaster, and you can make Selene Queen of the Master Magician. So long as you and your opponent's graves are filled with spells, you can get the spellcaster you used for the Link summon right back, and if that just so happens to be Water Endymion, then Selene can't be attacked, which is a nice bonus. It's an interaction I'm over the moon for. And that's about all I've got for Magistus. It'll be interesting to see how the deck evolves and changes as time goes on, not to mention what the mystery 4th member of the Magistus Conclave has to offer. I also wouldn't be surprised to see new support come out for them in the next core set, Blazing Vortex, so keep an eye out for new magical happenings that are just over the horizon. But for now, I want to hear what you all think. Are you excited to see Magistus flesh out the world of Endymion as well as the playing field? Or are these purveyors of magical mayhem only going to stick around for a spell? And do you have any themes you'd like to see played alongside them? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.